The photograph of my rock climbing students fractured in the frame as it tumbled from Alex's hands into the waiting trash bag. My brother didn't flinch, didn't even pause to acknowledge the breaking glass. The medical bills, the constant care, it's becoming too much. You're becoming a burden, my mother declared, her voice as sharp as the shards now scattered at the bottom of the garbage bag. My fingers dug into the wheelchair's armrests, knuckles white with restraint. 3 weeks since the rock climbing accident that had temporarily paralyzed my legs, and my family was already disposing of me like expired groceries. The doctors had promised a full recovery with proper therapy, 6 months, maybe less. But looking at the methodical way they were dismantling my childhood bedroom, it was clear my family had made their decision. My name is Rachel, I'm 29 and an adaptive sports instructor. This is the story of how I climbed back from betrayal to build something they could never tear down. But Mom, I just need a few months, I pleaded, watching as Alex tossed another handful of memories into the bag. The doctor said with rehabilitation. We are not a hospital, she cut me off, chin raised, gaze fixed somewhere above my head. Your brother needs the spare room for his home office, and we can't keep carrying you up and down the stairs. The irony sliced through me. For years, I'd been the family's support system, emotional and financial. I'd helped pay for Alex's college when my parents couldn't afford it, using savings from teaching outdoor survival courses. I'd postponed my own dreams to care for Dad during his heart surgery recovery. Now, 3 weeks into my own crisis, they couldn't pack me away fast enough. Alex zipped the last bag closed, still not meeting my eyes. The sound of the zipper seemed to echo in the increasingly empty room, a room I'd lived in for most of my life, now stripped to its bones in less than an hour. I called Aunt Patricia, Mom announced, scrolling through her phone. She has a small guest room. It's not much, but... No, I said quietly, pulling out my own phone. My voice was steadier than I expected. I'll figure something out. The relief that washed across their faces was unmistakable, the burden being lifted, responsibility slipping away. What they didn't know was that I had been preparing for this moment. I'd seen the way they looked at me since the accident, whispering when they thought I couldn't hear, their expressions shifting from concern to inconvenience. What they also didn't know, my accident had happened while I was testing a new route for my wilderness survival program. The same program that had caught the attention of Altitude Adventures 3 months ago, a major outdoor company looking to expand their offerings. I'd kept the negotiations quiet, not wanting to jinx the deal. I've called the car service, I said, my voice level. They'll be here in 20 minutes. Don't be dramatic, Rachel, Mom sighed, examining her manicure. Where will you go? You can barely take care of yourself. I looked around my childhood room, now stripped bare except for my wheelchair and the bags of hastily packed belongings. I'll manage. I always have. The car arrived, not the regular taxi they expected, but a specialized vehicle equipped for wheelchair transport. Their surprise at this small sign of competence flickered across their faces. Rachel, Alex finally spoke, his voice uncertain. Maybe we should discuss this. You want to discuss it? I wheeled myself toward the door. After you've packed my life into garbage bags. The driver was professionally efficient, helping me into the vehicle while my family stood awkwardly on the porch. Mom kept glancing at the neighbors' houses, probably worried about appearances. At least tell us where you're going, she called out. I smiled, thinking of the apartment I'd secretly leased last week, a fully accessible unit in a luxury building downtown. The same building where I'd had my final meeting with Altitude Adventures executives before my accident. During my 2-week hospital stay, I'd finalized the paperwork through their real estate agent, using the signing bonus from my new contract to secure the place. Don't worry about me, I said as the driver secured my wheelchair. I'm sure you'll hear all about it soon enough. As we drove away, I caught a glimpse of their faces in the side mirror. They looked confused, maybe even worried. They had expected me to break down, to beg, to accept their dismissal of my worth because of my temporary disability. What they didn't realize was that my accident hadn't just changed my body, it had cleared my vision. While lying in that hospital bed, I'd finalized the biggest deal of my career. The contract was signed 2 days before they decided to throw me out. My phone buzzed with a message from Altitude's CEO, everything set for announcement next week. Media excited about our new adaptive adventure program director. I typed back a quick confirmation, then silenced my phone as messages from Mom started pouring in. They'd have to wait. I had rehabilitation exercises to focus on and a groundbreaking program to launch. Let them think they'd abandoned me to struggle. In 3 months, when the program launched and my story hit the media, they'd realize exactly what they'd thrown away. The driver caught my eye in the rearview mirror. "You okay back there, miss?" I smiled, feeling stronger than I had in weeks. Never better. Sometimes being kicked out is exactly the push you need. 40 minutes later, we arrived at my new building. The doorman greeted me by name, having been briefed about my situation when I signed the lease remotely from my hospital bed. He helped the driver unload my bags while the building manager showed me the accessible features of the apartment I'd only seen in virtual tours until now. 3 months passed faster than I expected. Between intensive physical therapy sessions and virtual meetings with my team, I barely had time to dwell on my family's betrayal. My luxury apartment became my sanctuary, its accessible design allowing independence despite my temporary limitations. The building's car service made the twice-weekly trips to the rehabilitation center simple, and I'd arranged for grocery delivery and cleaning services using my new company benefits. The rehabilitation center staff marveled at my progress. "Your determination is remarkable," Dr. Nadim commented during one session as I pushed through another set of exercises. "Most patients take much longer to reach this stage." What she didn't know, every time my muscles screamed in protest, I pictured my mother's dismissive face. Every time I wanted to quit, I remembered Alex carelessly tossing my belongings into garbage bags. Pain became my fuel, rejection my motivation. My phone had been quiet for weeks. After the initial flurry of guilty messages from Mom and a few half-hearted texts from Alex, they'd given up trying to contact me. I heard through Aunt Patricia that they'd told everyone I was taking time to recover at a special facility, their way of saving face with neighbors and friends. I'd maintained contact with Aunt Patricia through email, our weekly updates a lifeline to the family I still cared for despite everything. The day before our big announcement, I received an unexpected visitor. Lily, my childhood best friend who lived next door to my parents, stopped by with news. I'd sent her my new address during our text conversations after the move, when she'd been the only one from home to check on my well-being regularly. "You won't believe this," she said, settling onto my couch. "Your mom's been bragging about Alex's promotion at the country club. Apparently, he's now regional manager at his firm." I wheeled myself to the kitchen, grabbing us both some tea. "Let me guess, they're planning a big celebration?" "This Sunday. Your mom's invited half the neighborhood." Lily hesitated. "She's telling everyone you're still too unwell to attend." I couldn't help but laugh. Perfect timing. "What do you mean?" I showed her the press release scheduled for tomorrow morning. Her eyes widened as she read, "Revolutionary Adaptive Adventure Program launches, led by accident survivor Rachel Knoll." "Rachel," she gasped. "This is huge. The program, the funding, you're going to be on national news." I nodded, sipping my tea. "Tomorrow morning, every major outdoor and fitness publication will run this story. By Sunday's party, everyone will know exactly why I'm not attending." The next morning, everything exploded. My phone started buzzing at 7 a.m. as the news broke. The story was perfect. Young outdoor educator turns personal tragedy into triumph, launching first-of-its-kind adaptive adventure program with major industry backing. My inbox flooded with interview requests from magazines and TV shows. Around noon, Aunt Patricia called. "Your mother just saw the news," she said, barely suppressing her glee. "She's having quite the meltdown." "Oh." I kept my voice neutral. She was at the salon preparing for Alex's party when someone showed her the article on their phone. She knocked over a whole tray of hair products. I could picture it perfectly, Mom with her hair half done, trying to maintain composure as her carefully constructed narrative crumbled. The daughter she'd dismissed as a burden was now making headlines. The messages started pouring in. First from Alex, "Why didn't you tell us? We could have helped." Then from Mom, "Rachel honey, we need to talk. This is all a misunderstanding." I saved the best one from Dad, who'd remained silent during my eviction. "Your mother's very upset. You should have discussed this with the family first." My response was simple, "Like you discussed throwing me out." That evening, as I worked through my therapy exercises in my building's state-of-the-art gym, Lily texted updates from the neighborhood. "Your mom's canceling Sunday's party, claiming she's not feeling well. Everyone knows the real reason though." The articles all over local Facebook groups. I set down my phone and studied myself in the gym's mirror. My arms were stronger now, my core more defined from months of rehabilitation. I'd graduated from the wheelchair to crutches last week, though I kept both for different situations. The doctors were amazed by my recovery rate. "Your body's response to therapy is exceptional," Dr. Nadim had said during my last assessment. "But it's your mental strength that's truly remarkable." She was right. 3 months ago, I left my childhood home broken, not by my accident, but by my family's rejection. Now I was stronger than ever, not despite their actions but because of them. My phone buzzed again. Another message from Mom. Please, Rachel, let's talk about this as a family. We can fix this. Fix this. As if my success was a problem that needed solving. As if my independence was a family crisis that required management. I wheeled myself to the floor-to-ceiling windows of my apartment, looking out at the city lights. Tomorrow I would give my first live interview about the program. In a week, we'd start accepting applications from other accident survivors and differently abled adventurers. My story was no longer about being kicked out. It was about where I was going. Let them scramble to explain their actions. Let them try to rewrite history. I had bigger mountains to climb. The morning of my first live interview coincided with what would have been Alex's celebration party. Instead of hosting the neighborhood at their house, my parents were huddled around their TV, watching me on Good Morning America. I knew this because Lily had texted me a photo of them through the living room window, their faces ashen as they watched my interview. I sat poised in my sleek wheelchair, a choice I'd made deliberately, though I could now walk with crutches. Sometimes our greatest setbacks reveal our true path, I told the interviewer, my voice clear and confident. This program isn't just about adaptive adventure sports. It's about showing people that limitations are often just invitations to innovate. The segment included footage from my recent trial run, me leading a group of participants in adaptive rock climbing, the very activity that had caused my accident. But now we had specialized equipment, safety protocols, and a team of trained instructors. And your own recovery has been remarkable, the interviewer noted. How did your family support system help with that? I smiled, ready for this question. Actually, my recovery taught me that sometimes we have to build our own support systems. Not everyone understands that disability doesn't equal inability. The subtle message wasn't lost on viewers. Social media exploded with supportive comments, many sharing their own stories of family rejection during difficult times. Later that afternoon, as I was reviewing applications for the program's first official session, my building security called. Ms. Knoll, your parents are here requesting access. I'd been expecting this. Send them up. They arrived looking smaller somehow, less intimidating than they had 3 months ago. Mom's perfectly styled hair couldn't hide her nervous fidgeting. Dad's usual commanding presence seemed diminished. Rachel, Mom started, her eyes darting around my expansive apartment. We've been trying to reach you. I know, I replied, gesturing to my comfortable seating area. Please sit. They perched awkwardly on my couch, taking in the adaptive modifications that made the space both accessible and elegant. Through my floor-to-ceiling windows, the city sprawled below us, a view that probably cost more than their entire house. Why didn't you tell us about the program? Dad finally asked. About the contract. Would it have changed your decision to throw me out? The silence was answer enough. We were worried, Mom tried. We didn't know how to handle the situation. So you decided not handling it at all was the answer. I maneuvered my wheelchair closer. You know what's interesting? When I was in the hospital, before you decided I was a burden, the company's CEO visited me. He said my accident made our program even more valuable. Now I could understand our future participants firsthand. Dad shifted uncomfortably. We're your parents, Rachel. We deserve to know. Like I deserve to know you were planning to kick me out? Or did Alex's need for a home office outweigh my right to recover in my own home? The mention of Alex made Mom flinch. He's very sorry. The promotion, it's not working out as planned. I couldn't help but laugh. Let me guess, the company saw the news? They're not too happy about a manager who threw his disabled sister out of her home. More uncomfortable silence. Rachel, Mom pleaded. We can fix this. Come home. We'll convert the downstairs study, make it accessible. I am home, I gestured around my apartment. And I don't need your space anymore. What I needed was your support, and you showed me exactly how much that was worth. Tears welled in Mom's eyes. We made a terrible mistake. Yes, you did, I agreed. But it taught me something valuable. Sometimes the people we expect to lift us up are actually holding us down. I wheeled myself to my desk, picking up some papers. These are applications from people like me, survivors, fighters, people who refuse to be defined by their challenges. That's my family now. Dad stood up, his voice gruff with emotion. What can we do? How can we make this right? I handed them a brochure for the program. You can start by understanding that disability doesn't make someone a burden. These programs will help people rebuild their confidence, their strength, their independence. You're welcome to donate, anonymously, of course. They left looking defeated, the brochure clutched in Mom's manicured hands. As the door closed behind them, I felt the last weight of their rejection lift from my shoulders. My phone buzzed, another message from the CEO, applications flooding in after your interview. You're changing lives, Rachel. I smiled, wheeling myself to the window. Below, I watched my parents exit the building, looking small against the towering architecture. They'd thrown me away when I was at my lowest, never imagining I would soar to such heights. Let them live with that knowledge. Let them explain to their country club friends why they're not part of their daughter's success story. I had mountains to climb, lives to change, and a future to build. Sometimes being kicked out isn't the end of your story. It's the beginning of a better one. 2 weeks later, my doctor delivered the news I'd been waiting for. Your recovery is progressing faster than expected. At this rate, you'll be walking unassisted within another 2 months. It was 3 months ahead of their initial 6-month projection, a testament to my determination and the quality of care I could now afford. As for my family, Alex ended up losing his promotion when the company's HR received anonymous tips about his treatment of his disabled sister. He'd been demoted to his previous position, a fact Aunt Patricia shared during our now weekly Sunday calls. She had fully sided with me after seeing how my parents had treated me, becoming an enthusiastic supporter of my new program and a regular visitor to my apartment. Lily remained my closest friend, joining me for dinner every Friday night. She'd become an unofficial ambassador for the program, spreading the word throughout our old neighborhood and beyond. My parents made one more attempt at reconciliation, sending a formal written apology and offering financial support for the program. I accepted their donation but made it clear our relationship would need time to heal, if it ever could. For now, I was focused on building my own future and helping others build theirs, surrounded by the supportive community I'd created from the rubble of rejection.